plant that flag with. I feel like StarCraft or Overwatch, maybe World of Warcraft would be a better IP to use for that, but definitely not Diablo. And finally, Gen Con 2018 was this last weekend. Unfortunately, I was not able to go. I would love to go sometime in the future. But some of my takeaways from Gen Con this year, there wasn't really a whole lot, but the one positive for sure was there's a game called Detective, a modern crime board game. And it was one of the most talked about games from this year's Gen Con. And it's a mystery solving game from the company Portal Games. And here's a snippet from the official website. Detective is set in modern times, and you, as a protagonist of the game, have access to all data that can be found on the internet. Use Google Maps, Wikipedia, or any other source of data you may need. We call this mechanism breaking the fourth wall. General knowledge is identified with the Wi-Fi icon. When you see this icon, you can browse the given topic on the internet to learn more about it. If there is a certain phrase underlined before the Wi-Fi icon, you should run it through the search engine of your choice to see what comes up. And this game uses mysteries ripped straight from newspaper headlines. And I think it's kind of smart for a board game company letting people use their smartphones, for like items in the game. Because that lessens the cost of producing the game. That's super smart, especially in a modern high-tech time, that we live in now. So one of the negatives I noticed from Gen Con this year, there was a game called Gizmos. Now, the game does look fun, but it also looks like a blatant ripoff of a game that I reviewed before called Potion Explosion. So the whole gist of Gizmos is players gather machines for their secret laboratories. And the game is powered by a row of colored marbles, each marble representing a different type of energy. The goal is to gather up enough gizmos to create chain reactions that give out victory points. Gizmos is made by the company Come On Games, who are more well known for their miniatures games like Zombicide. Now, when I was looking at the reviews and stuff like this, people were, going gaga over this game, and everything I saw in every review people did of it, it sounded almost verbatim like Potion Explosion. So I don't know. I may have to get my hands on it when it releases and see what the differences are, what the similarities are, and maybe that'll be a future board game review in the for a future episode. So to close on a positive, the Critical Role show that they did, the live show, it looked so freaking cool. It seemed like such a good time. And I was listening to it while I was working the other day, and it really, oh my gosh, the intensity of the crowd and everything was so cool. And I literally fist bumped in the air when they took down Lorenzo. I was so stoked. Oh my God. Spoilers, by the way. I don't know. It's been on YouTube for almost a week now, so spoilers are on you at that point. Like I said, I'd love to go to Gen Con next year, and I think it would be cool, maybe I could do interviews with game makers and stuff like that for the podcast. So that's something I'm definitely going to try to do for next year. Okay, moving on to books and comic books. So here's a mini review for not really a mini review. This is the review for the Vox Machina Origins comic book series that's released through Dark Horse. Originally, the comic started as a digital form only, and they statistically became the fastest and the strongest selling digital comics that Dark Horse has ever released. That's how I have read them, was digital, but I highly recommend buying the physical hardcover copy because it is gorgeous. It looks so good, and the craftsmanship to it is second to none. There's two editions. There's just a standard, and there's a collector's edition, and they're both available on the Geek and Sundry online shop. So the comic series is written by Matthew Colville, who wrote the video games Evolve, Priest, and Thief, and he also does the Running the Game D&D series on YouTube, and he's getting ready to launch his own D&D live stream on Twitch. Like I said, I've mentioned him before too in previous episodes. His name is Matthew Colville. If you have never ran a D&D session, or if you just want to understand D&D. Like I said, he does a series of videos called Running the Game, and he's extremely informative. He's super funny, and he seems like a pretty cool guy. So yeah, go check his videos out on YouTube. But the interior art for the comics is done by Olivia Sampson, and the coloring is done by Chris Northrup. So as the comic's title suggests, this is an origin story of the characters from the first season of Critical Role, and it shows you how they all came together to save the city of Stilben in Matt Mercer's captivating world of Exandria. They aren't a party just yet because they're in 3 separate groups, and these comics really help tell you the story of how these 3 paths came together. They're still the same witty and humorous dialogue that you would see on the live streams that these voice actors would do with their characters. Like, all that kind of stuff is still in there. The characters are true to who they are on the show. Because I've literally laughed out loud several times while reading the comics, mainly with stuff said by the Bard. His name is Scanlan. He was my favorite character during the first season of Critical Role. So I won't go into like super spoily stuff. Basically, overall, if you enjoy fantasy, D&D, role-playing games, or even Critical Role, obviously, you will love these comics. They're so good. They're very well written. And I know recently Matt Mercer has said that there are more things in the pipeline for the comic series. So maybe we'll see further adventures from Vox Machina that take place after the season 1 of the show is over. Or maybe it could be origins for the new season of the Mighty Nine, which I would also be totally okay with that too. And the last topic I'm going to talk about, so I think I've mentioned it before, but if not, I have put all of my comic ideas on hold for now, and I'm moving forward with a fantasy novel idea that I've had for a while, and it's kind of just been like sitting in the back of my mind, and I'm constantly thinking of, oh, that'd be a cool story idea, or that'd be a cool character idea, but I haven't been doing anything with it because I've been so focused on doing my comics. And I finally came to the realization that while I love reading comic books and comic book movies and all that stuff, you know, consuming comic book stuff, I don't feel like I'm a good fit for doing comic books. But I really enjoyed writing, so I figured, you know what, I have this idea for a fantasy novel, and it's been sitting in my mind for the last like 3-4 years, so I'm just going to do it. And so, anyway, so the story will follow an unlikely party of travelers unraveling a plot to get a demon from another plane of existence to take over their realm. So they're trying to stop this demon from another plane of existence from taking over. It'll have 5 main characters, and the plot will equally involve all of them. So it's not going to be like one main protagonist or like 2 protagonists. Like the party itself will be like the main character. But I'm already about 12,000 words into it, and I'm having a blast with it. I will post more info once I reach personal, like chapter goals and stuff like that. More info, and like, I might post like some character bios and stuff like that. Also a quick note I'll add is my son, he just turned 9, and, he was wanting to make his own like card game and involving like polyhedral dice and stuff like that. And so we created this battle card game. He wanted to use Star Wars characters because he's like super into Rebels and the Clone Wars right now. So we've been using Star Wars characters as the basis, and we did our first play test tonight, and the game was super fun. We have a few minor tweaks to do, and once we make those tweaks and we start, you know, like finalizing the cards and stuff like that, I'll ask him if it'd be okay if I post pictures of that too. Because it is his creation, and I'm just helping him along the way. So anyway, this brings me to the end of the episode, but before I sign off, guys, I am wicked close to 100 followers on Instagram now. Like less than 10 followers away. And once I get there, like I said before, I'll be doing a giveaway to give back to you guys. So share my socials with your friends, your family, your coworkers, like your classmates, whatever. Tag them in the posts, share my podcast on their timelines, DM it to them, whatever. Just get it out there, and then I can unveil the giveaway. I'm also trying to put together a Patreon for those of you who want to support the podcast and help it grow and expand upwards. If you guys want to like help support it and help me be able to fund projects or like fund giveaways, even like I could, like you doing that will help fund giveaways and help my listeners, the amount of listeners grow, and then more people, and it'd be a bigger community. And I'm going to be putting together a Discord server to go along with the Patreon. So if you even just donate $1, like you'll have access to the Discord server, and there will be other stuff where you can do a live Q&A with me, and like, we can like talk. I'll record it, and it'll be an episode. There'll be other patron levels where you can be brought in for a specific segment on an episode of a podcast, or even one of the higher ones, you can be a guest co-host for an entire episode of the podcast, and we can talk about whatever. So yeah, keep an eye out on that. I'm going to be fine-tuning that, and then once that's ready to go, I'll be posting it all over socials. And speaking of socials, you can find me on Instagram at SLNH Podcast, and you can tweet me at SLNH Podcast. And I'm on Facebook at Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders. As always, guys, I'm your host, Tyler, and I'm signing off. And as always, may the Force be with you.